Welcome back, everybody, to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. All right. I promised you at the beginning of the program, we had a heck of a split show today, and we've got a great guest in the second half of the program here. He approached me by email,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, when I say that the story hit me right between the eyes and was unusual, I'm telling you it was unusual, so I had to have him on. When someone tells me that they decided to check out a haunted asylum, not unusual. But when they decide to write a book inside that asylum because they're enamored with it, that's unusual
Hmm.
because they had such unusual experiences. So let's
Right.
get to it, shall we? Because I got a chance to read the book. And the book is good. It's a fictional book, but the fictional book is based on the experiences uh, inside the asylum. And folks, I'm not going to blow the ending on this deal, but you got to read the end of this book, which is highly unusual. And some of the things that these spirits do within the asylum is unusual as well. So
Yeah.
I applaud Brian Paone, who's our guest today, for the ingenuity that he's used in this book as well. Let me tell you about Brian, and we'll bring him in. Brian Paone is a Salem, Massachusetts native, displaced to Northern Virginia, and has been a published novelist since 2007. Brian has primarily been a speculative fiction author who doesn't know how to stay in his own lane. His novels feature an array of subgenres for those readers who dare to venture just outside of realism. Brian's a police detective in Maryland and has worked in law enforcement since 2002. He's a father to four children, a self-proclaimed roller coaster junkie, a Star Wars 501st member since 2005, and early May the 4th to him. Uh, a New England Patriots fanatic, and his favorite color is burnt orange. In 2019, he fulfilled his lifelong dream of becoming the proud owner of a 1981 DeLorean. So hopefully he won't time travel on us as we go through this interview. So uh, let's welcome in now to the program, Brian Paone. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
Brian, I should mention, and I haven't yet mentioned the name of the book, which is "These Walls Still Talk," which is
Yes.
a Get Haunted tale.
Yes.
Um, and I apologize for not mentioning that that's the book, and we have a link in the description of this program to go get the
Right.
book. Uh, Now, I want to get the story straight here for people as to how this happened. Now, you were in town
I
for
was in Missouri.
in Missouri for work
Right.
training, correct?
Work training. Yeah. So interesting. I had been in law enforcement for since 2002, and I had been a patrolman my whole career. And I guess I thought I had retired.
Okay.
um, I turned in my badge and my gun. Thought I was done with policing. I was really focusing on my writing career. I had a handful of books published at the time. Oprah Winfrey gave me a shout out in her book club for one of my books. Another one of my books was nominated for a Hugo Award. And I just thought, okay, the writing career is taking off. Certain things happened in my life, like in my bio. I was born and raised in Salem, Massachusetts. That's where I'm from, and I wound up in the DC area, and I realized I had to go back to work. There was just some things were going on, and I was like, I need to go back to work. And I applied for a job to be a detective. I'd never been a detective in my life. I had spent almost 2 decades, almost 20 years being a patrolman. I was like, I'll take a stab at this.
Yeah.
And I got the job. And the part of me went like, holy crap. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was terrified. I was like, I've never been this, we're talking about, I'm a detective, we're like, I wear regular clothes, like you see in the movies. Like I walk on the crime scenes and I'm doing the whole thing. And I never envisioned myself doing that. But in order to be a detective for the department that I got hired for, there is an 18-week training course. It's
Oh wow.
18 weeks long. And the only place they teach it is in Missouri. It's the only place that certifies us.
So already you've been thrown into hell.
So
Congratulations.
already I'm going to Missouri, and and I'm going purely for training, right? And but at this point, I've been an author now at this point for 14 years, 15 years. So the author thing is moving, right? And I have an editor who's been with me since book one, my publishing company. And I had already given my editor the outline to my next novel. When I went out to Missouri, it was going to be a neo noir dark fantasy novel, kind of like Dark City meets Silence of the Lambs meets The Crow meets, I don't know, whatever, right? And so I went out there with this thought: this is going to be my next book. And the problem was, we started to do things every weekend. In the area, the people that I was there with, because I was also there with other detectives from all over the country, not just people from my department. Because it's the only training center for detectives. We had people from Alaska, people from California, people from Maine, people from Texas, right? So there's a group, there's 67 of us, I believe, in the class. But we started to run out of things to do on the weekend. And one of the guys is like, hey, the Missouri State Penitentiary has overnight ghost hunts. You guys want to go do that? We're like I don't know, 8 weeks deep at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to do that. I'm like, I've actually never done an overnight ghost hunt. I'm born and raised in Salem, Massachusetts. You think I would have, right?
Right.
The other caveat that a lot of people don't know, unless you know me, is that not only am I from Salem, Massachusetts, but I grew up in a funeral home.
Oh, wow.
So my formative years was spent living over a funeral home from 8 to 16. And I was like, shoot, yeah, let's do an overnight ghost hunt, Missouri State Penitentiary. I went, didn't know what to expect. I had no idea that they were going to hand out actual ghost hunting machines, like apparatuses that you see in the movies. I was like a little kid getting these things. Like they passed out K2 meters to everybody. At the time, I did not know they were called K2 meters because I was so ignorant to ghost hunting. But I was just so happy to have one, right? I was even using it wrong at one point. Someone had to correct me. Like, I didn't know what it did. I'm like shining it in my face,
Oh, yeah.
right? But the ghost hunt ended at 3 a.m. I remember this very clearly. And when Missouri State Penitentiary like blows the whistle and is like, okay, we're closing up for the night, all I could think about was like, no, I'm not done. I could keep going. I hadn't been like bitten by the bug of something so incredibly fun before. Like so we went back to, because we were living in barracks. We were actually living in like military barracks during this training.
Okay.
It's a paramilitary training course. So we went back to the barracks and I started Googling, like I went on their website. I was like, when is the next time they're having one of these events? I need to do this again. The next weekend they were having another one. But the very next weekend, the overnight ghost hunt happened to also include Nesper. And if you don't know who that is Ed and Lorraine Warren's company, who is in control of the Warren Museum items. And they were bringing a bunch of items from the museum from Connecticut to the Missouri State Penitentiary. And also a professional ghost hunting company called Get Haunted, who I'd never heard of before, were hosting the whole event. So Get Haunted were kind of the overall umbrella, and then Nesper and all the Warren Museum, the Conjuring stuff was going to be there.
Now, let me stop
Yeah,
you real quick here, Brian, because
yeah,
I have some particulars to ask you about when it
sure.
came to that weekend.
Yeah.
Was it Tony Spira who was there from Nesper?
Yep. Yep. Tony was there. Wade was there. The whole crew was there. That's where I met Tony. I became friends with all of them over time. As we progressed through the story, I became very close with those people on a personal level.
Okay.
And yes, but Tony, yeah, that was the first time I met Tony. Yes.
Okay. At this point, is Lorraine still with us? Is she?
No, Lorraine and Ed have both passed. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, so Tony and Wade and the rest of the crew had like power of attorney over the estate,
Okay.
and were
Just,
so
just trying to get a general
yeah,
time frame
yeah.
of
No, I
when.
understand. That's a great question. It's a great question. So I go to the event. I buy the ticket. I'm like, I'm going back. I didn't know who Get Haunted was. I'd never heard of them before. But again, you got to remember that I'm not in the paranormal community, right? I had just been bitten by the bug 6 days ago. So I wasn't really up to speed. I knew who Nesper were only because of the Annabelle doll and the Conjuring movies. And that's my only that I knew that they were there. So we go, and there's like 100 people. It's like 100 tickets were sold to this event. So they bring us all into A Hall, Housing Unit 4, which is the largest building. And we're all in rows. And Rob, who's the co-owner of Get Haunted, he co-owns it with a woman named Sarah. He kind of does his speech. He welcomes everybody, and Nesper's in the back, and they have all the haunted or possessed, or whatever you want to call it, artifacts up. And Rob says, we're going to do 4 hours of 1 hour a station for 4 hours. So 4 stations, 1 hour at each station. And I'm going to break you up into groups. So he's like rows 1 through 3, you're group A. Rows this and this, you're group B. Rows C, and he kind of goes and he puts us in groups. By happenstance, the guys that I'm with get assigned to a group with a woman named Hannah and her friend Lizzie, who are there, and this is when I say this is serendipitous, and the universe like lined stuff up for me with this. Me and Hannah talk about this a lot, like the craziness of that one decision of where she sat or where I sat changed my writing career. Like it's very, very bizarre, and you'll see what I mean. So Rob puts us in these groups. So the guys that I'm with from the academy, from the detective academy, and Hannah and her friend Lizzie, we become a group, and now we spend the next 4 hours together going station to station. And the stations are members of Get Haunted using high-end ghost hunting equipment at very high activity places of the Missouri State Penitentiary. So we did the dungeon, we did death row, we did the gas chamber. We're doing EVP sessions. We're doing SDs. These are all things I'd never heard of. These are all things that I didn't know, right? Every time they asked for a volunteer, I raised my hand. I was like the idiot who was like, who wants to do SDs? I was like, I do. Who wants to EVP? I was like, I do. Because I was like a kid in a candy store. Somewhere throughout the night, I said to myself, there's a book here. But I didn't know what it was yet, right? All I had was like, there's a book here. I don't know why, and I don't know what specifically, but there's a story. Mm-hmm. So the next morning, I emailed my editor, and I was like, I know we greenlighted the dark fantasy novel. I get something else. And I presented it, and it was like, that sounds awesome. Build something. So I knew that I wanted my book, whatever it was going to turn into, I knew I wanted it to take place at the Missouri State Penitentiary, because that was where I fell in love with this ghost hunting stuff. Like I felt like a kinship to the property. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I felt like it spoke to me in some weird way. So I reached out to them just to make sure I wasn't going to get a cease and desist order, that I wasn't going to get sued, that it was okay that I was going to put this ghost hunt gone wrong horror novel inside the Missouri State Penitentiary. I didn't want any legal backlash on, a year later.
Right.
So I got in touch. So the woman who's in charge of the Missouri State Penitentiary, her name is Sheila. Me and her started talking. And remember I said my training was 18 weeks. Mm-hmm. So we did 10 weeks, and then I got to go home for 2 weeks on a break, and then I had to go back and do the last 8. Sheila said, when you come back for those 8 weeks, how about you write the book here on the weekends for the 8 weekends you're here? So I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, do what now? She's like, yeah. She's like, wouldn't it be cool if you wrote the whole book inside Missouri State Penitentiary, one of America's most haunted prisons? Like, I'll let you do that. I will. She's like, we will sit down. We'll have a set of rules that you can and can't do. We're going to have very, very strict, stipulations. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm going to be able to write this book inside. All I was doing is reaching out and asking for permission to not be sued. And now they're offering the property. Like they're handing the keys over to the property.
Well, I'm curious real quick here, Brian, before we move much further, how restrictive is it on your writing process? What did it tell you can't do when it comes to writing inside?
So I could not be on the property if there wasn't a minimum of 1 staff member on the payroll on the property somewhere. So as long as there was someone sitting in the gift shop in the office, I could be all the way in death row writing if I wanted to be. I just couldn't be the only person there in case, God forbid, I fell, I got hurt. I think it was an insurance thing. There
Yeah.
had to be someone else on the property, because if someone else is on the property, it's considered open, and I could never be there when it was closed.
Right.
So that was one stipulation. Another stipulation at one point became there was a lot of rules, like I couldn't bring food or anything but water into the other buildings while I was writing, in case it spilled, because there was no running water there. They couldn't clean it. So I couldn't bring like a thermos of coffee into a hall. Like I had to only bring water. If I wanted coffee, I needed to leave it in the office. But the biggest one was that I couldn't be on the property as long as somebody else was there, I was good. And that also meant there was times I went, and for 6 hours I didn't see another human being, but I knew someone was somewhere. I knew that there was an employee somewhere on the property, but I may have been left alone for in death row for 6 hours in the dark writing, or the dungeon. And Another rule was, like, I had to kind of keep it under wraps while I was there, because Sheila didn't want a whole bunch of people calling and being like, "Hey, there's an author who got the permission to be there for 8 weekends to write. Can I be next?" So she was kind of cut down on that. So that became a rule. Like, don't. I only started advertising it like after I left. Like, because now she could be like, "No, he's not here anymore, and we're not doing it anymore," and stuff like that.
Right.
So we had stuff like that. And I made sure I never expected that kindness, that permission. So I made sure that anything Sheila said, not only did I do, but I did it, triple fold. Like, I made sure she was like, "Don't do this." I was like, "Absolutely not. I'm not doing that," because I didn't want to screw up this relationship. Like, people pay, X amount of money just to do a 6 hour overnight ghost hunt there. And she's basically like, "Here, 6 weekends, like, here you go,"
Right.
like, but
And does Sheila say why you, Brian? Why did she extend this kindness on you?
so she vetted me. When I proposed the, when I first reached out to her and asked to even use it in the first place, I didn't hear from her for about a week. And I thought it was over. She spent the time vetting that I was who I said I was. She
Oh,
vetted that I was in law enforcement. So that kind of gives me a little bit more clout that I'm not going to be a weirdo. I'm not going to be messing things up. She vetted my author career. She vetted that I'm on a publishing company, that I did have at the time 12 novels. She vetted that I was nominated for a Hugo Award. She vetted that I do a lot of book signings. Like, she made sure that she wasn't just blindly and blanketedly saying, "Sure, come on in." It was
right.
like, "No, we need to vet him. We need to make sure he's good. He's a dad. He's a this. He's all these things. Check out that this guy isn't going to show up and start." Because I was a stranger, and I get that. Like, I cold contacted them, and but they did their due diligence to make sure that I wasn't anybody that they would have to worry about, be fearful for, that their safety, that I was some guy just wandering around the property, because that they were letting me into their world.
Right.
And they vetted me, and she said yes. I flew out there, and I took Sheila out to dinner, and we sat down and we had a game plan, and she was very comfortable with me being there. So when I came back from those 2 week break, my last 8 weeks of training was basically Monday morning to Friday afternoon. I was in training. I left the classroom, drove to the Missouri State Penitentiary, and basically didn't go back to my barracks until Sunday evening. So I stayed there, and if you read the book, at the back is my diary, and I actually
Yep.
show the dates, the times that I arrived, the times I left, and then I kind of do a total at the end of how many hours I was in there, and I kept track of all of that. So it was cool to,
Which
like, Monday
which
through Friday being in training, and then the weekends, doing that.
which by the way, that's an amazing bonus to the book. The fact that you have that all detailed there in that last
Yeah,
chapter. I got to throw that kudos out to you there, Brian. The fact that you've detailed, and we'll get into a few of those experiences, but
yeah,
that you've detailed each and every experience that you've had inside while you're writing. It's kind of those little snippets are not only do we get an insight to your writing process, but also your personal relationship with not only the live staff that's there, but the unalive
Mhm. Yeah, the
staff,
unalive
all those
staff, right? The unalive
characters
inmates.
that are
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to do that. That was never the plan. I did not go on the first night and say, I'm going to keep a diary and I'm going to include it at the back of the book. That was never anywhere in my brain. When I sat down to write on night one, chapter one, by the second paragraph, there was already something weird happening. I made a note of it. And when I left that first night and I realized I had like 8 weird things happen to me, I said, you know what? I should probably keep doing this. And then at some point, I talked to my editor and I was like, would including my diary at the back of the book be weird? And she was like, nope. She's like, oh my God, that is a selling point. People are going to want to read this book, which is fiction,
Mhm.
and then read about it, what actually happened to you while you were in there writing the book. Like that is so unique. Like that, that's crazy. So I started to keep super detailed notes of anything unexplainable. And I use the word unexplainable because unexplainable doesn't necessarily mean paranormal. It could, but I didn't want to say that every single like pop was a ghost, but I
Right.
did document every unexplainable thing that happened to me. And then, and I've had people who have bought my book and read my diary first because they were so interested just to see what I went through while I was there, and then go back to chapter one and start reading, the actual novel part of it, you know.
Well, I would encourage people not to do that. Don't do that because it's more interesting to get the entire story first and
Right,
then find out what
right.
happened to Brian.
Yeah.
Because if you're introduced to the characters first and get
And they're
the
all real people. They're all real
yeah,
people. And there's pictures of them at the back of the book. Like there's
yes,
real photographs of them.
but it's more exciting to find out at the end of the book that everyone's real people.
Yeah.
That's kind of the nice surprise that you go,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute, this because and we're kind of, I mean, we're not really pulling back any curtains here by saying this, Brian, but a lot of times when an author fictionalizes real staff, they'll put, fake names or whatever to
Yeah.
real
I did
staff,
not. No.
and you didn't.
I got permission from everybody. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. The,
which
the
is nice.
staff there, the staff at MSP, which is Missouri State Penitentiary. So that's the abbreviation. It's easier to say. But the
Sure.
staff at MSP are the most incredible group of people. They made my 8 weekends there enjoyable. So I fell in love with MSP's buildings in ominousness first, but it was the staff that made me make it feel like home. That staff welcomed me with open arms, across the board. So there it I mean, I miss them like on a daily basis. They didn't treat me like an outsider who's just writing a book. I was welcomed into this really tight knit like clique that they have with each other. And I got to step inside that. And I love them for that. In fact, if anybody, I can throw this in here. I'll plug now. They are having a These Walls Still Talk event September 12th of this year, and I am flying in, and I'm the guest of honor, and I'm gonna have books there for sale, and we're gonna be the guests are gonna be put into like little breakout groups. We're gonna do this little pockets of investigations at certain points. I'm going to take people around and show them exactly it's different spots that they wrote at that you read about in the diary. And the entire staff is going to be on that night. Like like everybody you read about in the book is going to be there. And even Hannah, who is the main character, who's not a staff member, because she was the woman that was kind of happenstancely put in my group that first night.
Yep.
There's a very, very good chance Hannah is going to also come in for that as the
Oh,
main character of the book. So we're kind of doing a These Walls Still Talk thing at Missouri State Penitentiary in September. So if any of your listeners or watchers right now are like, heck, I'd love to do that, come on that weekend, that September 12th weekend. I believe tickets for that are going on sale very soon. But yes, we will be at MSP, the whole staff, me, Hannah, and we're turning it into basically a live version of my book,
Oh, that's awesome.
which is going to
That's
be a lot of fun. Sheila has blessed off on it, and she's super excited. And she even might pop in. Yeah, so it's gonna be a really really fun night. Yeah.
Let's do this, Brian. Speaking of really good people that I like to mention and you like to mention, let me do this real quick. When I'll take a small break here to talk about
Yeah.
Jelly Bean and Julia's. When we come back, I want to get into one of the plot points in the book, which is very, very interesting that you center it around something that you shouldn't do while you're investigating. All right, and then we'll come back. We'll talk about that. The book is "These Walls Still Talk," like Brian said, and again, remind me again when we get closer when that event goes on sale, because I want to tell our listeners about it, especially during Supernatural News, so they can get tickets to that event. I know there's a lot of people here in the Midwest. We're in Minnesota here, but a lot of people in this Midwest area that'll want to travel and go to that event and want to participate in that event. That sounds amazing because, folks, when we tell you what the plot point, the main plot point or focus is here, I think you're going to want to go to this event. Um, all right. So speaking of good people that you're going to want to hang with, Jelly Bean and Julia's over in Coon Rapids on Coon Rapids Boulevard. The specials for the week, and they're good ones at that for the rest of the week here, Thursday. Well, actually, this Thursday, today. Happy hour, $3 off tacos, nachos, quesadillas. Boneless wing baskets are half off, or I'm sorry, boneless wings baskets, $3 off. I'm sorry. Half off the domestic taps and bottles, single pour well drinks as well. Tomorrow, folks, this is what we're all looking forward to and we're all waiting for, the smoked prime rib dinner. That's right. Oh, I'm telling you, Corey has had that as we speak right now, as we're sitting and listening to this podcast. He's got that smoked prime rib in the walk-in smoker there over there at Jelly Bean and Julia's. He's got it. He's got it ready. He's got it smoking. He's getting it ready for you. It's available starting at 4:30 on Friday. You've got the tequila berry salad, the sweet and tangy dressing with the croutons and the bacon bits and everything. It's that tequila berry salad you remember from Tequila Berry's restaurant when they did the all you could eat prime rib. This is not all you can eat, by the way, but it's either a 14 or a 16-ounce cut. You've got the Boston baked potato that comes with it. You got the Texas toast, everything with it. It's an amazing dinner. They serve it from 4:30 until it's gone. You better get there early because it will be gone. That's on Friday. Of course, breakfast on Sundays only. They've got an amazing breakfast over there. Just imagine having waffles, chicken and waffles on Sunday. That's all I'll say right there. Jellybeanandjulias.com. There's a link in the description of this program. Check them out. It is the place. It's going to be your place too, as Corey and Coley treat you like family. All right, let's get back to what we're into today, which is with Brian Paone and the name of the book, These Walls Still Talk. Now, I teased this, that there's a plot point about something you shouldn't do when you're investigating that
Yeah.
centers around this. And Hannah, the main character,
Yes.
has done something, Brian, that we really shouldn't do in an investigation. And what's that?
Yeah. So you shouldn't steal one of these.
Oh, what is that?
That's the one that Hannah steals in the book.
Is it?
Yeah, so it's the closet strip. So the inmates of Missouri State Penitentiary. This is real life, right? Not
Mhm.
just my book, but when they come in, this is their version of a closet. So it's got these little loops,
Okay.
and they have to hang it on their wall, and then they can hang all their prison garb on it because they don't have closets in the cells.
Okay.
So that way their clothes aren't just in a pile on the floor. But they have to hand make these at the leather shop or the cloth shop when they come in. Most of the cells still have them hanging. So
Interesting.
I needed, as an author, right? Here we go. So we talk about. Let me just hang this back up here. As an author, sure, I had an idea for a book,
Mhm.
but you need a device. You need the thing that sets everything into motion, and I didn't have it. And I laid awake at night. I thought about it in the shower. I thought about it on my commute. I was like, I don't have the thing that's going to set all this in motion. And without the thing, you have no way to get through your story. And then it came to me. all of these cells have these closet strips. What if Hannah, on her 21st birthday, her friends took her out drinking and then to a overnight ghost hunt at Missouri State Penitentiary? And we all know when you've had too much to drink and you kind of get egged on, you do silly things. She
Mm-hmm.
gets like egged on to steal one of these closet strips from a cell. So she steals a closet strip and brings it home. What she doesn't know is that the inmate who died in that cell is now attached to that closet strip because he made it when he got there. And now he is tormenting her in her apartment. So it's attached to the strip. So she brought, an attached entity home with her.
Oh,
So, yes, the plot line of the book is that Hannah decides enough is enough and she needs to go back and sign up for another overnight ghost hunt with the closet strip to return it to get rid of the spirit that's been, tormenting her. The problem is she was drunk when she took it and she can't remember what cell she took it from.
oh,
And
that's
if she
rough.
returns it to the wrong cell, it's not going to work because it's not that dude's cell. So, and as you can see, as the night goes on, she can't figure out the cell. The spirits get more and more aroused. There is a ghost apparition so we're going to do real life and then my book.
Okay.
If you believe. In real life, there is a ghost there called Big Boy. He is seen many, many times through many, many guests. My daughter saw him during the book release party in
Really?
the dungeon. She had such a reaction to him that she burst into tears and was just crying.
Oh
He
no.
is known to be either very terrifying or very soothing, depending on how he approaches. But everybody's description of him is exactly the same. He's about 7 foot shadow figure, and he does this Jesus Christ pose where he kind of does this with his arms, and he comes at you really quickly. He did it to my daughter, and my daughter's not one to make stuff up. I know that, Jim. She was like, but he's the warden in my novel.
Okay.
He's the guy that is in charge of all the ghost inmates. So this is where the conflict of my novel comes from. Hannah's bringing back this artifact that has an inmate's spirit attached to it. If you are an inmate who has escaped from prison, you wouldn't want to be returned. So
No.
the spirit that's attached to the artifact is doing everything in its power to not let Hannah find what cell he belongs in. That way she can't return him. But
Mhm.
if you're a warden of a prison and someone is returning one of your escapees, you're going to do everything in your power to make sure they don't leave again.
Right.
So the premise of These Walls Still Talk is that there are these humans in this overnight ghost hunt, and unbeknownst to them, they are now in the middle of a war between the ghost warden and the inmate that's attached to the artifact in basically in this war. And the humans are trapped in the middle of it. And that is These Walls Still Talk.
It's amazing, folks. I'll tell you, Brian has taken a lot of reality, thrown in a little bit of fantasy, and let his imagination go wild with it. And it's quite exciting towards the end. I'll tell you
Thank
that
you.
much. And there's
There is the Missouri State Penitentiary riots of 1954
Mhm.
really happened. I did weeks of research on that because I knew that I wanted the riots to happen again as a residual haunting. So there's a big chunk in the middle of the book where the main characters get caught up in a riot that happens every night because the ghosts are stuck in this residual riot haunting. And everything about the riot is true. I did not fabricate anything in the novel. So all the things the ghosts do in that riot, there's
Yeah.
documented cases of those things happening by one of the rioters.
Oh
And
wow.
so basically, this is really a historical fiction novel first, then a haunted, ghost story second. Because everything that the ghosts do are truly based on things that happened to that prison in real life when it was open. And that was important to me. Um, something else that one of the tour guides told me, her name is Reese. I can call her out. Reese told me that one of the things that she loved about the book from a tour guide perspective was
Mhm.
that I kept the entire property as is. Meaning, I didn't put a staircase where there wasn't one because I needed there to be one as an author. I didn't
Mhm.
take away, a cell because because my plot didn't have one. I used MSP as it stands, and I made my book work within the confines of the buildings, and as opposed to manipulating the buildings and changing them because they wouldn't work as is. That way, if you read These Walls Still Talk and then go to Missouri State Penitentiary, you have a map to the buildings in my book. Nothing changed. The staircase, when Hannah is running through A Hall to get upstairs because she sees the ghost, you can follow her steps step by step by step. I didn't put anything where it shouldn't be. I didn't move a staircase over here. I didn't move a window over here. It is literally MSP. The other thing that I did
If I
is,
can, Brian, real quick, I
yeah, yeah,
did kind of tip my cap to you about the authenticity of this and mention you've even got a map at the beginning of the book.
yeah. So you can
Everybody
flip
knows
back.
it's
Yeah,
true.
you can flip
Yeah.
back and it's
And
numbered. So
yeah,
when they're running, if the characters are running from housing unit 4 to death row, in your brain, if you want to know where that is, yes, you're correct. So I put it kind of like a Lord of the Rings map of Middle Earth. It's
yeah.
just a much, but it's a map of the property, and I took it from Google Earth actually.
Okay.
That is a Google Earth screenshot, and then we numbered the buildings. So as a reader, you can keep going back to the first page and being like, "Oh shit, they had to run from here to there."
Yeah.
That I didn't realize that it was that. Okay, okay, I know where they are now. I get the I I'm
But it also sets the image in your mind. So you have an idea. And so when you're visualizing the characters in your mind, you can visualize the buildings that they're going to at the same.
yes, which is important, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you've got the movie in your mind, so to speak. So now you can almost visualize the inside as well
yep,
because you're very descriptive with everything on the inside as well.
yep. The other thing that I did was I wanted the book to take place over the course of 7 hours.
Okay.
I wrote the book to take 7 hours to read.
Mhm.
I wanted the reader to read it in real time. We never jump scenes. I wanted it so you were watching a 7 hour GoPro on Hannah's forehead that never cuts. I know I succeeded because my audiobook, and for anybody out there watching, all of my books are available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. The audiobook to this is 7 hours and 12 minutes. So I know I got it pretty dang close. So it opens with the main characters showing up at MSP for their ghost hunt, and they go through 7 hours of action, and
Mhm.
the book should take you about 7 hours to read. There is no cutscenes. There is no 2 hours later. We follow them with a GoPro that never stops recording, and the book should be. It's almost like a found footage movie where we
Yeah.
don't stop watching the footage of Hannah's forehead. So we never ever break scene. And that was hard for me because I had to keep going back and pacing it and going, did I speed up too much here? Am I slowing down too much here? Did this conversation take too long? This conversation should be 5 minutes in real life, but would it take someone 20 minutes to read? And I would have to I kept manipulating the action because I really wanted the book to feel like you were in it with them and
Yeah.
you were stuck there with them for 7 hours.
Which is tough because you have conflicts in here.
Yeah.
You've got people moving locations between locations. You've got, and again, I tip my cap to you because everything is just people who are seasoned investigators who have been on big investigations because this is not a small investigation. You got about 75 people who are on this investigation.
Right.
These are big moving parts
Right.
between big buildings, right?
Right.
So to think that that's that big of an operation in 7 hours, and there's a lot of moving parts here, you've managed to masterfully put it on a page. And not only that, but also balance it with an audiobook.
Yeah, I did. The audiobook was interesting to keep on track. But I really, when Get Haunted did that event where they moved us around for 1 hour per station. I think if I hadn't experienced that, I wouldn't have been able to write the book the way I did. I think being able to be part of that, I understood what it felt like to be in a location for a full hour.
Mm-hmm.
And because in real life, I was the one who kept volunteering. In
Mm-hmm.
the book, the other main character, Christian, is the one who keeps volunteering. So he was like me, and I had things happen to him that really happened to me, when I was volunteering for stuff, which was a lot of fun to write. And I knew how long an SD session took because I had just done it. I knew how long an EVP session took because I had just done it. I didn't want to rush it, but I also didn't want to draw it out for dramatic sake because then that's not how it really works. My
Right.
goal was to actually give the reader who maybe has never been on a professional ghost hunt before a true sense of actually what it feels like to go on one. So I was like, hell, if Rob is doing a 45-minute EVP session, this chapter should take you 45 minutes to read. Yes, I'm having things happen, you know, scarier things than what happened in real life because it's a horror novel. So I'm having those, things come in, but that station should take the reader 45 minutes to read. And when I would read that chapter back, if I was too short or too long, I would have to go in and adjust it because I wanted the reader to feel like they experienced what the characters experienced and didn't have these weird time jumps. So
Well, I think that's key too. Your timing is just right. There's nothing that lags. There's nothing that there's no dead time
yeah.
in any of these chapters.
It
Everything
was
needs
hard.
to
It
be
was hard. It did not come easy. I'll tell you
incredibly
what, it
hard.
was, yeah, I agonized over it. That was,
Yeah, because let's face it, there's a lot of dead time, and I'm not talking about a particular dead time in
yeah, yeah. In
investigating.
an investigation. Yeah.
There's a lot of downtime,
Yeah,
and
that's what. So I
yeah,
filled that dead time. You've read the book. I filled the dead time with some other conflicts, with some of
yeah.
the other guests, kind of getting into little fights with each other. So I filled the dead time with other subplots. That way that way the timing was still consistent with the guests being there for 7 hours.
Yeah, yeah. It's all very man, it's just incredibly intriguing. And again, like I said, I'm not spoiling anything about the end of the book, but man, it leaves you your jaw is wide open at the end, like what? You know? Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it's the ending has been I've gotten some interesting reviews because of the ending. It's been everything from um like gave him satisfaction, like, oh, this ending was brilliant, like I didn't see it coming, and everything from you son of a bitch. you know like I've gotten, the needle has gone both ways with some of the reviews I've gotten, so you know
I'll just give people this. You do have to suspend your disbelief a little bit
hmm
because because Brian is so authentic with everything. I think as a investigator, if you go and read this book, you'll be like, "Damn, this is really good," because it is so true to life, and it is so on that you feel like you're actually sitting there
yeah,
in an
yeah,
investigation. So you're like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, this is good. This is an investigator that wrote this. This is great."
But I'm not an investigator, though. Like, that's the thing. Like, I had been on two, like,
Yeah, yeah. But
but I did.
no one would know that though, Brian.
But I
They're
think I was so enamored by it that I just paid attention. I was like a little kid seeing, I don't know, Disney World for the first time and
Mhm.
didn't know Disney World existed until they got there. I mean, I was starry eyed and I couldn't believe that people actually did this. And I was, the other thing that I did with the book, um, is I tried to follow the Full Metal Jacket formula, where the first half is the ghost hunt, where the ghosts aren't necessarily, um, you know, ticked off quite yet. And then, in Full Metal Jacket, the first half is the boot camp stuff, and the second half is the war. And I did consciously try to use Full Metal Jacket as a reference, where the first half of the book is those breakout groups for those 4 hours, and
Yep.
then the second half is the 3 hours of the war. Right. So we have the 4 hours of the boot camp, and then we get the 3 hours of where it's just you know, all out, pandemonium, paranormal, attack. So I,
Right.
I very much like the way Full Metal Jacket did that with how Stanley Kubrick, did that movie. And I did
Mhm.
try to have this sense of we're doing the investigations, some weird things are happening, we're not really getting into the thick of it, and then boom, we're now being shot at, so
Yeah. Now
yeah,
we're in it. Now we're in it. All
yeah,
right.
we're in
Let me ask you this because I don't want to give away too much more about the book. We've given away quite a bit already.
it.
Mm, But let me shift your focus here a little bit. Is there a book in you now that you've done this type of investigation, this type of paranormal investigation? Have you ever been out in the woods, say, looking for Sasquatch?
Mhm. Yeah. So I don't think you and I talked about this, so this may even be new to you.
This is new
But
to me.
this is
Yeah.
so you're getting this new, right? And we didn't talk about this because we all of our communication was about MSP and these will still talk. So I don't know how much time we have left to talk,
Oh,
but
we've got a few minutes left. Yeah, we've
yeah.
probably got about
So
5, 10 minutes. So
okay,
yeah,
so I'll shift gears and I'll talk really fast.
sure, go
So
ahead.
I was a guest of honor at Get Haunted's Supernatural Soiree because I wrote the book. When I got there, Wade Kirby, who works for Nesper, he's actually the guy in charge of the Annabelle doll, was there. Me and him had a couple drinks together. He said, "Hey, have you thought about making this a series?" I said, "Absolutely not. It's one and done. I don't know how this could be a series." He said, "I want you to meet somebody." He brought me over to a table. He introduced me to Ernie and Denise Pack. Ernie and Denise Pack owned the Ditto House in Kentucky. The Ditto House is considered one of Kentucky's most haunted houses. He said, "You guys should meet because maybe if there's another book, you guys should talk about it." Me and Ernie and Denise talked. It was through talking to them that I decided to write another book that is not connected to these Wall Still Talk. It's what's called a interconnected standalone. So think of Scooby Doo, think of Hardy Boys, think of Nancy Drew, think of the Babysitters Club, think of Goosebumps, right?
Mhm.
They own the Ditto House. They offered for me to come and stay at the Ditto House for 3 weeks with no break. Like I move in for 3 weeks
Wow.
in Kentucky's most haunted house, but they live. The woods surrounding their house is one of the most active Sasquatch woods in the East Coast. So they have Sasquatch sightings. They've had Sasquatch in their house. There is a Sasquatch footprint that they took a picture of in their dining room.
What?
So I got to go there for 3 weeks, and I know this could be a whole nother show, but so I went and wrote a Get Haunted Tale, the next Get Haunted Tale novel. It's called Unpacking the Ditto House. It comes out May 14th next month. This is brand new. I just came
Yeah.
back from it.
Okay.
It is 50% a haunted house novel, 50% a Sasquatch novel. Um, I had never seen Sasquatch. I had never gone squatching before. I had never done any of this. Greg Youst, whose his nickname is Squatch Man, came down 3 different times while I was there writing and took me into the woods squatching. I saw my first Sasquatch while I was there writing. So this next book that's coming out next month, Unpacking the Ditto House, is about Ernie and Denise buying the Ditto House and moving in. And one of the ghosts in the house, Silas Rodman, who's real, he's a real ghost in real life. He was a traveling salesman, and in 1903, he was accused of cheating in a card game inside the Ditto House when it used to be a brothel. And he was stabbed in the side and he died in a room that they call the murder room, and that is where they let me stay for 3 weeks. So I slept inside the murder room for 3 weeks
Oh, wow.
to write this book. So every word of this novel was written inside the Ditto House or out in the woods. So Squatch Man, Greg Youst, came down 3 times and took me squatching, and I have had face-to-face experiences with Sasquatch, which I never in my million years thought I would. I kept a diary of everything that happened to me there as well, both Sasquatch and paranormal. That diary is also at the back of the book. Hannah from These Walls Still Talk
Yep.
drove down and stayed with me for a weekend at the Ditto House. So it was really cool to have somebody from the first book now at the location that I was writing the second book, and she was squatching. She came face to face with the Squatch out in the woods. She had a bunch of ghosts interact with her. I saw my very first full body apparition in the Ditto House. In in the ladies' room. We went face to face. I screamed. She screamed. It was like E.T. meeting Elliot in the movie E.T., where we both screamed in the cornfield and we went running away. The Ditto House was terrifying. Like giggling children with throwing rocks down the stairs. It was way scarier than MSP if you do the totality of it. So to answer that question, that is yes. And the book release party for that is coming up May 14th and 15th. It's a 2-night book release party next month. Night 1 is a ghost tour of the Ditto House. Night 2 is we are going squatching for 6 hours in the woods with Squatch Man. He's coming in from Indiana and he is hosting. Anybody who wants to go, tickets are super cheap. The ghost tour of the Ditto House is only $20, and the squatching of the woods is $50. And there's going to be food. I'll be there. The books will be there. Squatch Man's coming from Indiana. Ernie and Denise Pack, who own the Ditto House, will be there. And Get Haunted is coming in from Pennsylvania also. So
Wow.
we have sold a ton of tickets already, and there's only limited availability left. So, so that is the new book, and that is what's happening now. And if you want an opportunity to come face to face with a Sasquatch, Squatch Man is like the Sasquatch whisperer. I mean, the first time I saw one, I didn't know what to do with myself. It was the weirdest. It was like and I talk about it in my diary, where it's just this overwhelming feeling where you're like, it's so much different than what I think everybody thinks it is. So Sasquatch plays a major part in this book. So it's a haunted house, yet a Bigfoot novel all at the same time. Because the book, again, like These Walls Still Talk, is about Missouri State Penitentiary, right? This book is exactly the same, where I do not change a single banister, doorknob, light fixture in the Ditto House, and I don't change a single tree or anything in the woods around their place. And I just put Sasquatch in the woods, and I put the ghosts inside the house, and I let them go, and I let them run wild. So that is next month. Pre-orders for that. Pre-orders for my book, Unpacking the Ditto House, are live right now on my website, Amazon, everywhere. But if anybody is close to Kentucky, so I should say this is all Kentucky. This is West Point, Kentucky. If anybody wants to come squatching with me and Squatch Man and Get Haunted and Hannah, because she's coming down, and people from the first book, that is May 15th. It's a Saturday night. And if anybody is interested in the Ditto House, one of Kentucky's most haunted houses, we're doing that is Friday. And tickets are cheap at $20 for the Ditto House, $50 for the Sasquatch for squatching. We're going to have a campfire. It's going to be wild out there. I'm hoping we get some good stuff. So, and again, so for that book, not only is the diary at the end, but like These Walls Still Talk, there's also a bunch of photos of me out there writing in all the locations and the people who are in the book and stuff like that. So
We will put up a link as well to the well, I'll get your website link. We'll put that
yeah,
up. We'll put up a link as well to Unpacking the Ditto
Ditto
House.
House. Yep.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
I've probably never been so scared in my life as I was in that house writing that book. We talk about MSP and stuff like that. MSP is different because, so I don't want to take anything away from Missouri State Penitentiary, because it is, if you're a paranormal investigator, it is amazing. There are shadow figures everywhere. We have the creeper. We've got, it is active. Things are happening around you, but it's wide open. So if you're standing there and you see a shadow figure all the way down there, you have the ability to turn and run if you're really scared. At the Ditto House, it's this old Kentucky little tiny house. So when I saw that full body apparition for the first time in my life, I didn't know where to run to. There's nowhere to go. It's all these little rooms, right? And it's like this little staircase, and you feel claustrophobic. And I think that adds to the sense of, holy crap. The thing of the Ditto House is, if you see a ghost in this room and you're scared and you turn to run into that room, there could be something in there too.
Yeah.
You don't know what's in the next room because the rooms are so claustrophobically small. But at MSP, if you see something that scares you and you turn to run, you have like kind of this wide open space in front of you, right?
Yeah.
Like a football field,
Right.
right? So MSP is like a football field, and the Ditto House is kind of like a funhouse mirror room at a carnival where you don't know what's around, and that was scary for me to write there.
Well,
Yeah,
not only that, Brian, but you mentioned one key thing here about the Ditto House that absolutely is frightening. The fact that you say, well, there's a Squatch print in the house, which,
yeah, they have pictures of the picture is the picture of the Squatch print in their dining room is so defined. You can't, it's not, it couldn't be anything else. And they believe, so Arnie and Denise Pack, who own the Ditto House, believe that Sasquatch are interdimensional supernatural creatures.
okay,
So they don't need to walk, to open a door to come in. They can come and go as they please, just like spirits. But
right.
they leave remnants behind just like spirits do. And this is their belief. And it's also the belief of what I realized when I got into a lot of people in the community. So that print kind of backs up that theory. The print was not made by Ben. I'm going to tell you right now, I spent 3 weeks with Ernie and Denise. I spent, every moment of 3 weeks with them, and then multiple hours and hours and hours over the phone. They are not people to plant something to make themselves sound bigger or to advertise their house. In fact,
Wow.
if anything, they are the type of people who don't like the spotlight. They keep trying to shy away from it. They're the type of people that like, I'm going to show you something. Please don't share it. We just don't want this getting out. They're like very introverted, humble people. They did not make that print, but that print is so concrete. I it's it's the same prints that are out in the woods
But in the
that
middle
they
of their
see the
house.
squatches in, right? That I have seen the squatches in. It's the same print. It's anyway. So do with that what you want. But believe it or not, I know So I'm packing to the house.
But I
Yeah,
guess the to finish the thought here, Brian, is that you're walking into a house and you're staying in a house
yeah.
where there's been a print of a Sasquatch there. You like you just pointed out.
Trust me, I wrote that entire book like this.
Yeah.
I just
We always think, in our heads, if we just turn the lock on that door, we're safe, right?
nope,
We're,
nope,
you've got the sanctity of home. At least I can
nope,
lock my
not there.
door and nothing can get it.
No, the Ditto House does. I my kind of my motto with the Ditto House after being there for 3 weeks to write the book was the Ditto House does not care if it's 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. What is active in that house could care less about time. Sunshine, birds chirping, brightness, 2 p.m. There could be a ghost walk right through the parlor. Like it does not care. It does not care. That's what made that house. That's what makes that house so terrifying. Was I would be there writing at like noon. It was noon. It was noon on the button, and like something went by behind me, and then there was rocks falling down the staircase, and I'm just like, it's noon. This should be happening at nighttime. But no, you're getting giggling children at 10 a.m. I mean, it's not one of those things like, well, like it's the sun is set and it's dark out, so the ghosts are going to come out to play. Hell no. The Ditto House, they're playing all day long. And that's what makes that place so terrifying. It's something. It is
Is
something.
and I guess just for a quick follow up here, is it near water? Is it built on ley
Yeah.
lines?
So the Ditto House's backyard, their property actually goes into the Ohio River and
Okay,
past in their property. They were telling me they own the ground below the Ohio River. If it ever dried up, like their property line goes beyond. So the Ohio River, which the Lewis and Clark expedition
yeah,
started in their backyard. There's like a post with a sign.
really,
Lewis and Clark started in the Ditto House's backyard. That's what like one of their claims to fame is. So that's if you're a history buff,
yeah.
even if you could care less about ghosts, you should come to the book release party on that Friday, and because it's a ghost tour, but also a history tour. The amount of things that happened in that area The Ditto House was a Civil War hospital. It was a post office. It was a train station ticket agency. It was a brothel. That's where Silas Rodman got killed when he was, caught cheating at cards. It was a bed and breakfast. It was an inn. It was a restaurant that also wasn't an inn and breakfast. God, there's so many things it was over the years. It just kept changing. The battle for Atlanta of the Civil War was planned in the Ditto House.
Wow.
So General Sherman and his high-ranking officers sat in the Ditto House's parlor and came up with the Battle of Atlanta that won a lot of the Civil War for us, for in the Ditto House. They have documentation that General Sherman sat in the parlor of the Ditto House and came up with the Battle of Atlanta. Like, we were talking history steep. So forget ghosts. Like, even if you're like, ghost hogwash, like,
Yeah.
the Ditto House has such an important history to America. But yet it's like the Bermuda Triangle between Sasquatches and spirits and stuff. So when I learned all that, I immediately was like, okay, I guess I'm writing a second book. But I didn't want it to be a sequel to these. I didn't want these Walls Still Talk Part 2. Right. So the only thing that makes it connected is that me as the author went and stayed in this haunted location, and I came up with a completely different plot around Ernie and Denise moving into this house, and Squatch Man. Squatch Man's real. He's going to be there at my book release party. He's in the book. But I did have Get Haunted, who's the paranormal company from the first book. I did have Get Haunted come in to help Ernie and Denise try to figure out what's going on in their house. And that's how I connected them. So I used, like Scooby-Doo, right?
Right.
You got the Scooby-Doo characters investigating a new mystery. So Get Haunted is the only thing that ties these two books together. That's why
you brought Hannah in too.
Well, Hannah's not in the book. Hannah just came down. No, she just came down to stay with me. Yeah, Hannah's not in the book at all. The real Hannah in real life drove down from Iowa and hung out with me for a weekend.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of cool to have her there, while I was writing the second book, and she was the main character of the first book, and she had some things happen to her there that she will tell you that was things that's never happened to her anywhere else. So she stayed in the ladies' room, and she was getting ready for bed one night, and she had somebody like hands like this peeking around the door frame looking at her. And then when she looked, they went like this, and you saw the hands and everything retract. Yeah, the Ditto House is concrete apparitions. We were hearing a woman and a male arguing upstairs. I ran upstairs, and when sometimes in places that have a lot of paranormal activity, when you get closer, it disappears, or it sounds like it keeps moving around.
Yeah.
This didn't happen. I was in the room. I couldn't see anybody, but there was a male and a female arguing with each other in the room that I was in. And I'm like, I can't see them, but I can hear them. Yeah. It was like a male and female, like, bickering. It was the Ditto House is crazy. Crazy.
That's not.
Yeah. So anyway, it'll be open at the book release party. Come on down. It's going to be
Well, we got to get you back on then, Brian, to talk more about that book and talk about the activity there. I mean, we've already talked quite a bit about Ditto House, but it sounds like there's more to be hashed out about it.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy of it, like I did, Walls. So
yeah. Let's figure out a time to get you back on. But in the meantime, we have a link to Brian's website. Go check that out. Get one of the few remaining tickets that's there for that event over the mid-May weekend. Is 14th and 15th, you said?
Yeah, I believe that's Friday and Saturday. So Friday night is the Ditto House. Saturday is the woods with Sasquatch. So yeah, it's on my website. I can't remember. I'm so bad with dates when it comes to stuff like that. But yeah, if you go right to my website, it should be right at the top.
Okay.
Let me go to brianpaone.com. At the very, very, very top is a announcement bar.
I think it's probably, you say, if it's Friday, Saturday, it'd be 15th, 16th.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you because yes, 15th and 16th.
Okay. So it's 15th of May.
Yeah.
But that's all right. Yeah, six and one half dozen
That
of a year,
weekend,
right?
that Friday and Saturday.
That's right. That weekend in mid-May.
Yep.
So check out that event and wow, 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 wow. But yeah, and the book that we're talking about today, These Walls Still Talk, an amazing book. Go get
Thank you.
that book now. And as a matter of fact, uh, either way, whether it be paperback or Kindle, it is an amazing, affordable book that you are going to be bowled over by.
Even audiobook. The audiobook I think is 9.99 or something stupid. So
Actually, there's an amazing membership trial price to it.
there we go.
If you
There we go.
decide
Yeah. Yeah.
if you're on a audiobook on Amazon,
Yep.
you can get an amazing break on it. I'm not going to tell you
Yeah.
how much, but
Right.
I'll
If you'd
just say
rather listen than read, the audiobook is out there.
it is, and you can get an amazing break on it as well. So, but Brian, I want to thank you so much for being with us
Yeah.
today.
Thank you for having me. It was
Yeah.
great.
Thank you very much, folks. We are up on the weekend, and here's the deal. A couple of notes for you before we go. One, the Darkness Radio Apple app is available and updated. Go get your updates. If you offloaded it for some reason off your Apple products, please re-upload or however you would say it. You know what I mean. But reactivate it, and it's an easy one-stop shop for everything. Not only getting your Darkness Radio shows, but also ways to contact us. You've also got Jeff Belanger's program there as well, and some other goodies there. Also, an easy way to get to the Darkness Radio shop. There's True Crime Tuesday and Darkness Radio Swag. They're brand new stuff, and we're adding brand new products every day. That's the other thing. So either that or darknessradioshow.com is the other way you can get to our shop. But brand new swag is coming out, especially for summer. Brand new stuff for summer is coming out. So be sure to check out the shop as well and support the show. We'd appreciate it if you would. Second, I'm a little behind on videos. But we should be caught up by the weekend, especially this weekend, because I'm not at KNSI this weekend. So look for new videos. About to hit you big time with new videos. Third, it's going to be mighty, mighty warm. At least it is here in Minneapolis. I know it's supposed to be warm throughout the country. We've had a lot of cold weather, and now we're getting warmer. I'm sure there's a lot of cleanup to be done around the yard, a lot of cleanup to be done, especially spring cleaning to be done in the house. You have elderly and disabled people who need your help. They need the help around the yard. They need the help in the house. If you could be a light in someone's darkness this weekend, go help the elderly and disabled with their spring cleanup. A message from your friends here at Darkness Radio. For Mally Fox, for Jessica Freeberg, for Beer City Bruiser, for Travis Thorpe, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for continuing to listen and watch the best in paranormal podcasting. Continue to rate and review us and give us a 5-star review. We would appreciate it. We'll see you next week right here on Darkness Radio.
For more audio and video archives of the show, intriguing content, fun events, and cool swag, check out darknessradioshow.com. The executive producer of Darkness Radio is Troy Palmer. If you enjoyed today's program, please make sure you like and subscribe. This videocast is copyrighted for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this videocast, including audio, video, descriptions, or accounts of today's show, is prohibited without the permission of Darkness Radio Management. Thank you for watching, and have a great weekend. And, when you are making your plans for this weekend, make sure you include an elderly or disabled member of your community. And be a light in someone's darkness.